This is a special presentation of EA Sports from the Coliseum in Oakland. Our tribute to the coach, the John Madden Legacy Game. I'm Brandon Gaudin here to take you through the proceedings. And coming up, we're going to tell the story of a man who was truly larger than life and whose impact on the sport of football, certainly it's going to live on for decades and decades to come. Now, we've assembled a couple of rosters featuring some of Coach's favorite players from both yesterday and today. And Coach himself will be on the sidelines for both squads, trying to motivate his guys to victory. And I'm joined now by my good friend Charles Davis. CD, your thoughts on John Madden and what he meant to the sport he loved so much?
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game of football and brought the game to so many people. He stayed involved his entire life. And moving forward, when you think of football, you're always going to think John Madden.
And he won't quite make it to the 25. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him Young John Madden. This is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL, and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
It may be cliche, but it is something that holds up over time, doesn't it? If you're the visitors, you don't want to let the crowd in the game early.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did there. But you said also this defense, they're going to give them a lot of looks like we just saw there, aren't they?
They certainly are. They're a proud unit, and they're going to ride the momentum of this crowd with them, and that's why they got after them early.
So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. He played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon, and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
And they get him down, but not before he takes it across the 40-yard line. A curious decision to go for it, but it pays off with a first down.
I'm laughing because I'm not so sure I would have made this call. I'm not so sure I would have said, yeah, let's go ahead and get this one, especially at this point of the game. But give him credit. He had a feeling and carried it through.
Yeah, that's one where you think, okay, if you're down, 2 minutes left, the ball's near midfield, you go for it. But in this stage, at that part of the field, but like you said, it worked. Give him 32 on the play.
We expected this defense to be tested by this passing game coming into this one. And there's an example on this first possession of the game.
On 1st and 10, it's Sanders. And he will avoid the contact as he slides to a stop. That's going to go as a loss of a full 8 yards. It sets him back for second down. Off the play fake, here's Farr. The first catch of the game for George Kittle. Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp, actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles, with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL.
And hit behind the line. He lost the football. It's loose. So we're through one at the Coliseum in Oakland. 0-0 our score. This is the John Madden Legacy game on EA Sports. The NFC with the football here to begin the second quarter. The fumble on first down now. Here's second down. Here's Fard to throw. And that's going to be caught. Touchdown NFC. George Kittle, a 9-yard touchdown grab. And the NFC takes it all the way down the field to score on their opening drive. Well, that drive felt like it took up an eternity. We finally have some action on the scoreboard.
Yeah, but plenty of action prior to, because that drive took up all the first quarter before we spilled into the second, and finally, points were registered.
On the other sideline, they're chomping at the bit just to get the football. Extra point by Anderson, up and good. And it's now a 7-0 game. So that one a pretty time-consuming 10-play drive. And it all ends with a George Kittle touchdown. Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. No run back here for Hall, and this will come out to the 25. So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. And you think about the landscape of the NFL as he was getting into the back half of his tenure. It was a golden era for coaches. You had Don Shula, Tom Landry, Chuck Noll, Bud Grant. But it was John Madden who had the best winning percentage of them all, CD. 759, the best ever.
Brandon, it's hard to believe he could be so successful in the conference with all those great teams. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls. The Dolphins won 2 and were a mainstay in the playoffs. The Colts were tough. The Broncos came on late and went to a Super Bowl themselves. But against Hall of Fame coaches, John Madden's record, 36-16-2. That's pretty incredible. His Raiders were a factor each and every year.
Look at this, middle of the field, a breakaway. Now he's going to get this all the way down inside the 35. An excellent gain, 35 yards.
And that might be exactly what they needed to wake up this home crowd. They haven't given them much to cheer for so far, and never underestimate the effect the home crowd with you can have on a game.
Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course, and the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon. Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about to go on.
Under a heavy rush, and down he goes. Kevin Green coming in from that outside linebacker spot. He gets him down. It's a loss of 5. Well, they sent him on the blitz from that linebacker spot, and boy, he got there quickly.
He certainly did, and obviously he could have used a block from his running back, but I think you nailed it right there. The defender got into the backfield so fast, it's hard for anyone to react.
That one caught by Tyreek Hill. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. So 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root. As did the expression, commitment to excellence. And boy, was it personified by the players who played for Coach Madden. On offense, how about quarterback Kenny Stabler, wide receiver Cliff Branch, wide receiver Fred Biletnikoff, tight end Dave Casper, to name a few. How about those great linemen he had? Center Jim Otto, guard Gene Upshaw, tackle Art Shell, all of them in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And guys on the defensive side of the ball, the man Stork himself, Ted Hendricks, Willie Brown, John Matuszak, Otis Siska, and Big Ben Davidson. So many great players, so many great memories.
Hester going to decide against a return, and they will spot this at the 25. The NFC offense coming out here. And you know, Charles, Coach Madden always said that if he had one drive to win a game and he had to pick a quarterback, he would pick Kenny Stabler. But I think if you asked him to omit any of his Raiders players, there's a good chance the guy he'd select would be Brett Favre.
Brett Favre is always smiling. He's always laughing. He's always talking to someone. He remembers that it's a game. And if it's a game, you should have fun.
And Brandon, that always reminds me of a great movie line where one of the players was telling the coach, every time I say it's a game, you say it's a business. And every time I say it's a business, you say it's a game. With Coach, it was always a game.
Automatic first down.
So the yellow flag came out, and that leads to a new set of downs for this offense. 1st and 10. And a dangerous throw there as that's knocked down and incomplete.
And that's a nice job there because you got to play the ball, not the man when in coverage. That'll keep you away from a lot of needless penalties, and he's able to knock that one away.
Now a deep ball there on 2nd down, but it'll wind up incomplete.
My first thought is surprise because that's one of the better tight ends around, and I've seen him pull in balls like this before. But how about a little credit to the defense forcing that incompletion?
To throw is Favre. And the throw there going to be incomplete.
Well, he's smart enough to avoid the taunting rule, but I'm guaranteed he quietly has told them, you might want to stop coming after me downfield because I just broke up another pass and took away a big shot that you were trying to succeed with.
The Hall of Famer's kick is good, and they push the lead up to a touchdown now at 10-3. Still a little bit of time left here in the 2nd quarter, but they do get 3 before the half and expand that lead.
And have to be happy about that, and we haven't met a team yet that doesn't put an emphasis on trying to get points on the board in the last 2 minutes of a half. They'll be real excited to have those up on the board.
After the made field goal, Anderson back out to kick it away. Taking it about the 1. And he's only going to make it to the 13-yard line and no further. The AFC making their way out, and it's one of Coach's favorites, another local guy, Tom Brady, who will be at the controls. And boy, Coach always admired the way number 12 could run an offense, and especially his ability to stay calm under pressure.
Tom Brady is a guy who's always looking downfield. He never looks at the rush. He hangs in the pocket, and he makes a throw. He's a cool guy. He's a tough guy. Let me tell you, there's no one calmer in the pocket than Tom Brady.
And I know that Coach has a great appreciation for Tom Brady, who turned 45 back on August 3rd because Coach coached a guy like him in George Blanda, who played a long time in the NFL. In this game, it features legends and active players. Tom Brady qualifies as both.
And the running lane's non-existent in this first half as they'll stop him behind the line.
I have a feeling they'll stay committed to running the football, especially on their early downs. They just haven't had a whole lot of success just yet.
So now they have to contend with 2nd and 13 after the first down run goes backwards. The final shot before half for Brady. And this turns into disaster. He's not going to get full. So we're at halftime of the John Madden Legacy game, and now we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducted coach of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. But it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. And the second half forthcoming from Oakland. The AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap he had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
On 2nd and 12, Brady. And this one nearly intercepted. Boy, that would have been a great time for their first pick. But instead, it's 3rd down. Throwing is Brady on 3rd down. Pressure gets to him, and down he goes. Back at the 4-yard line. Reggie White, what a force. Got back there for the sack.
I'd say it's not panic time yet, but let's be honest about it. Empty possession here, not what you're looking for when you're down a couple of scores.
Absolutely not. Trying to start the second half off on the right foot. Unfortunately, going to give the ball up. Here's Ray Guy now, and no room for error here as his first punt comes from deep in his own end zone. And he's able to get it out of there, and this is a pretty good kick. Here's Hester. Found good room to run there, returns it 14 yards. And the NFC will take over 1st and 10. Now the NFC heading back out. Hall of Famer Randy Moss, a part of this offense. And Coach Madden, boy, he always appreciated the ferociousness with which number 84 attacked the football in the air.
As Randy Moss says, just chunk it up there, dog, and I'll go get it.
And, Coach, boy, did he ever go get it. Over 15,000 receiving yards, 156 touchdowns. And how about this? From his rookie year of 1998 until 2009, those were his prime seasons, right? He led the league in touchdowns 5 times, but even more so, he showed us all how to go up and get it. Great body control. No one's ever done it better playing the ball in the air.
Play action. It's Favre. Gets this one to Juszczyk. And they're going to be set up down around the 15-yard line. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42, he just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, he was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember, he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had, one that connected with everyone.
They'll run with Sanders, and he will carry this one in. Touchdown, NFC. Taking it in from 2 yards out, and the NFC is in for 6. Just power football there, down near the goal line. Give it to him. He's able to push his way across.
Yeah, they went heavy there. Sometimes you have those big offensive linemen come in, have to report like they're eligible. But all they're doing is getting a good stance, blocking, and getting their runner across the goal line.
Now here's a look for the end zone, but that one's going to wind up incomplete.
I don't know about you, but I can't wait for a few years of two-point tries and see what the data tells us, because a lot of teams want to throw the ball in this situation, this time unsuccessfully. I just wonder if maybe running the ball might be the way to go.
With it moved up from the 3 to the 2, you would think maybe a few more attempts at running.
I think stats over time may bear out that running the ball will at least be the equal of throwing it in that situation.
The AFC offense set to take their next drive. And really, Charles, not much of a surprise that they're losing. They just haven't been able to get much of anything going in the pass game. And as you well know, in today's NFL, if the passing game isn't working, usually not much else is working either.
Exactly right about that, partner. And I know that right now the easy answer would be, hey, let's run the football. But that might not be everything you need. So despite the fact that they've struggled throwing it, they've got to find some type of a play, multiple plays, that puts the ball in the air and allows for them to have some success.
The tally there, -2 yards, brings up 3rd down.
This defense is just flat getting after it. They have not given up much of anything in the run game. Case in point right there.
3rd down now, and those last 2 plays indicative of how things have gone for them. Just nowhere to go on the ground and struggling to put up points. So through 3 quarters of the John Madden Legacy game, it's the NFC. Back now here on EA Sports. It's the NFC with football as well as we start quarter number 4. The AFC thus far on 3rd down, just 1 for 3 thus far. This is going to be 3rd and 13. Now Brady. And that is incomplete.
Well, obviously searching for their first touchdown this game, partner. And that quick 3 and out, that's not going to achieve that at all. Give victory to the secondary there. They brought out tight coverage on that 3rd down snap.
Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts. That'll leave them with 2 remaining. We'll be back after this. Now Brady got to have this one. Pass is tipped, but he's still able to bring it in. He's got this almost to the 40 before going out. The time to pull out the stops is now, and they convert there on 4th down. Clock management definitely critical here if they want to get back in this game.
Absolutely agreed. They have to up the tempo in this case, down a couple of scores. Want to make sure they have a chance to win this ball game.
Oh, he can't get away, and Brady will go down. The pressure from multiple guys there as they bury him for a big 9-yard loss.
Oh, you can just see it in their body language. They're starting to see victory on the horizon now, and if it comes to fruition, they got to give a game ball to the front 7. Defensive line has taken charge and controlled this game. Face a challenge of stopping this opposing offense, and they've done so with ease.
And they need to work to at least get some of this yardage back after the sack. 2nd and 19. Here's Brady to throw. That's caught by Andre Reed. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on to call 8 Super Bowls together. But how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
Now on 4th down here, that pass knocked away and incomplete. Line of scrimmage, the 37 on 1st and 10. Throwing is far. And nowhere to fit that football in. It's knocked away and incomplete. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you're talking about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when you use words like boom and pow. He helped create the old Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too.
They went with a dime look on defense, 2 extra defensive backs on the field and covered up essentially every blade of grass. That allowed them to disrupt the play.
They'll try and throw for it with Favre. And that's going to be caught. Touchdown NFC. A great effort there. He scored on the ground and through the air. And the NFC is in for 6. Oh, they flip it to the kicker. He looks like he's going to throw it.
Another not asking me, but I'll give you my opinion anyway. I think it's time to erase that play from the call sheet. I guess they figure with the big lead they can experiment a little bit. But all in all, just go ahead and put that play on ice.
Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. And by rule, that comes out to the 40-yard line, so a good opportunity for this offense with solid field position. Well, you don't see that often. He just mishit it, and it goes out of bounds.
Well, I know sitting up here, and I'm looking at you, and you're looking at me, and I know we're both thinking the same thing. Isn't it easy enough to keep it between the sidelines? Because unless you're intentionally doing it for some reason, well, that's a call.
Oh, he can't get away, and Brady will go down. Taken down for the 5th time this game. Multiple defenders there to get him. So 2 minutes to play in the John Madden Legacy game. And the NFC well in control. And we'll be back to Oakland after this. So the AFC with the football as we welcome you back. They're looking at 2nd down now as they search for a consolation score. Now a toss play. Allen. That's going to go down as a loss of 5, and it brings up 3rd down. Now you've got to hustle your guys to the line and get them set. Brady's throw on 3rd down there is incomplete.
This has been a rough one, to put it mildly, for him. And after this one's done, you just feel like at the post-game press conference, this team's going to have a lot of questions and definitely not a lot of answers.
They'll run for it. This is Allen. And they will stop him short of the marker. Well, there is a flag here, but if this is on the offense, and I think it is, they'll obviously decline it. So they elect to decline it.
And why not? Just go ahead and let the play stand, and they'll take that.
Now it looks like he'll throw here. And that throw behind his man, he missed him, incomplete. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told him, call me when it's 11-on-11, and he got his wish.
Yeah, after that debut, Madden the video game continued to pick up steam through the 90s in a big way, and John himself, many will remember, was a commentator for the series for many years. And now here we are in the 2020s, and this game has sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million copies.
We all have habits. We can be somewhat predictable, and you know me pretty well on second down and short. What I like to say?
Play action.
Yeah, without a doubt, I thought that was a great spot to call it. Instead.
And he will fight his way into the end zone for a touchdown. Taking it in from 4 yards out. And the NFC is in for 6.
Well, there's just about a minute left in this game, and they're still taking it into the end zone. And you know they could have taken a knee there, but they decided to play this one all the way out. And I think their philosophy is, we're going to give you everything we've got. If we just go ahead.
Oh, and now they're going to fake it. But he can't get away forever, and down he goes.
Well, I have to admit, I'm scratching my head a little bit here trying to make sense of what I just saw. Number one, huge lead. Just kick the extra point and be done with it. Number two, if you are going to go for two, just line up and go for it from the 2-yard line. Why make it so difficult? That's a long way to go to try and pick up some points.
And Hall not going to bring this one out. The offense for the AFC set to go now. Well, it's been a struggle so far for this offense, Charles. It's not only that they haven't been able to put the points up, but really stringing yards together has been a real issue for them in this one.
I'm so glad you brought up the yardage, because I was thinking to myself, we've seen a lot of NFL games, and we've seen our share of lopsided contests, but in almost all of them, both offenses have put up at least 200 yards in a game, but not in this one. This has been a display of offense that, frankly, I think the two of us have watched from behind our hands, trying to spread our fingers wide enough to actually see the result.
Protection certainly going to need to be a bit better here on 2nd and 16. Brady now to throw. They complete it to Hill. Now the AFC going to take a timeout. It's their second, as they'll stop it with 27 seconds showing on the clock. Going to need a crafty play call here. 14 yards is what they need to try to convert this thing. Now on 3rd and long, they'll look to throw. Oh, had his hands on it, couldn't bring it in. Pretty symptomatic of how this game's been going.
Oh, I thought he had that one, and that was nearly a big 3rd down conversion to give this drive some life. Instead, they're on the spot and help separate the receiver from the ball.
Brady to throw for it on 4th down. And he knocks the ball away, and it falls incomplete. They had to go for it with such little time remaining. And the NFC is going to get the football back in excellent field position. They'll throw on 1st down with Favre. That's to the right side, complete to Kittle. Inside the 15, shy of the 10. And with inside of 10 seconds, 8 to be precise, we get whistles and a timeout on the field. Now a 1st and 10 at the 11. Favre. And this will be caught. And the carnage continues. It's another touchdown. Well, when they said before the game that they were going to try and execute every second of this contest, I guess that was taken literally, because here they are in the final moments of the 4th, putting another touchdown on the board, Charles, to add to this big lead.
I'm not a big believer in 110%, but it certainly applies here, doesn't it? Because some guys just can't go with less. As long as there's time left on the clock, they're pushing to get to the end zone one more time. They don't really care about what the optics show. They just want to finish the game off the way that they like to play it. Full speed, all out.
Following the touchdown, here's Anderson to kick it away. Taken in at the 3. So it's a win here for the NFC. Just an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. And before we go, one final message. And for all of us at EA Sports, this one's for you, Coach.
I just say this, I thank you all very much. This has been the sweetest ride of them all.